Okay, so our next guest is a children's author, and she goes by her author name is Ashley Iman. And I'm not sure if that's her, like her middle name or just her pen name, but we'll find out.
Hi.
Hi, Ashley. Welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Oh, thank you.
Now, is Ashley Iman your pen
You all hear
name
me?
or your middle name? Yes,
Yes,
we
we
hear
hear
you.
you.
We hear you.
Okay,
Can you
great.
hear us?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, okay, okay. Is Ashley Iman your just your pen name or is Iman your middle name? And you decided to go
Mhm.
with that.
Yeah, Iman is my middle name. And so that's what I go by. Yeah.
Okay, all right. And you
Mhm.
have one children's book that I know about.
Mhm.
You may have more, but then you have another one in the same series coming out June 24th. So show us a copy of Ruby Renee Had So Much to Say. Do you have a copy of it?
I do somewhere in this room. Oh man, I should have had a copy ready
Oh,
to
okay.
show you.
Well, that
Oh
would
my
be
gosh.
nice.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I
Okay,
got one
all
over
right.
here.
I'm just checking some of the chat
Yes.
just to see if
Oh
there's anything.
goodness, great. Yeah. Here's a
Okay.
copy of the book. Can you see? So yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
it's
post
kind
the
of
link.
Your
it's the
background is
children.
not letting you be great.
Yeah.
I know. I gotta find a way
Put
to
Uh,
it
like
put it
block
right
it
in
and
front.
blur.
put it right
Put
in
it
front
right
of
in front of you,
you.
like
There you
Here
go.
it
Right
is.
there, right there, right there. Right there. Ruby Renee had so much to say. And so the
Mhm.
title is catchy
Mhm.
as well as the cover. And so what did she have to say? What
Yeah. So Ruby is just a talkative little girl, right? She
okay.
has she, loves to listen to like public radio and podcasts with her family. And so she has little facts to share. She likes to tell you what's on her mind. I guess the better question would be like, what does she not have to say,
All
honestly?
right, so she a little smarty pants.
Yes, very smart girl.
Now how old is she in the book? What
Yeah, she's
age?
8 years old.
And she's listening to podcasts at 8 years old.
She is. I mean, she's
So
modeled after me. I was listening to public radio with my dad at that age.
really interesting. Interesting.
Hmm.
It's interesting what people do with their parents. The kinds
Yeah.
of activities that they do with their parents. My dad was a
Hmm.
pastor, so we were in church. Uh,
I'm
that's
about to
what
say
we did.
Hmm.
I grew up with my grandmother, so I knew every gospel song on the radio.
Yeah. and and when we got home, it was four siblings. We played church. So that
Oh,
was the
I can see
game we
it.
played. My brother,
Hmm.
who's now passed, he was the preacher, and
Hmm.
and I would pretend to play the piano, and then I would also take up the offering. and,
That's amazing. I love that.
and so we would, I mean, because that was our life. That's where we spend most of our
Hmm.
time. And so, but it's interesting what you do with your parents, the things, the
Hmm.
right.
activities that you do with your parents.
Hmm.
Yeah, we traveled a lot with him too, because he would preach different places. So we would go on
Hmm.
road trips.
That's
Um,
beautiful. I love that.
we did back. So now is Ruby Renee, is that a real person? Or Ruby Renee is you said.
I
Kind of
mean, she's
sort of.
she's yeah,
Kind
she's definitely like amalgamation, I think, of lots of different folks. She's definitely inspired by me as far as like what makes her want to talk so much. But I wanted to write the book because there were so many little Black girls like Ruby Renee in my classes when I was teaching, and I found myself thinking, I love that they want to share. I also desperately need to get through my lessons. What is like a way to kind of rewrite their story, in some ways, kind of also rewrite my own story?
of. So did you teach at that grade level? 8 year
I actually
old?
taught middle school. Yeah. I was talking
Oh,
to somebody about this the other day. Like, why did I end up writing a book for elementary school kids when
I was
I'm like
just about to ask you that question.
I am a solidly secondary person. I taught middle school and high school. Um, But I've always loved children's books. Even as a middle school teacher, I had a wall of children's books in the classroom. So,
Oh, okay. Well, maybe
Mhm.
you're like reflecting on how these kids would have been with your
Mhm.
influence at 8 years old, you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
maybe.
yeah. So now, did you have any books before this? I know this one's published
Mhm.
by one of the Penguin Random House, isn't it?
Mhm.
Okay. Did you have some
Yeah.
books before that? Did you self-publish or this is your very first
No,
book?
this is my very first book.
Oh, okay, great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great. So how did you get the Penguin Random House connection? How did that come about?
Yeah. So during the pandemic, and I think in the wake of the murder of George Floyd, there was a lot of discussion about how do we make sure that we are, lifting Black voices, right? And so the Authors Guild had a call essentially for anybody interested in writing. Just submit a manuscript, and then they were going to send it to a bunch of different agents, and the agents could like offer you feedback. I submitted. I was a teacher who was at home, honestly, also kind of like reflecting and trying to reckon. Um, and I found an agent through that, right? I have a truly, truly incredible agent, and she read it and was supposed to just give me feedback, but she also said, you know what, actually, I really want to work with you, and I think we can get this published. And she did. So I had no connections at Penguin Random House. It was truly because of the Authors Guild and my incredible agent.
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
That's an amazing story. And it's also
Mhm.
a testament as to why sometimes you just have to put yourself out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, where's the Authors Guild? You live
Uh,
in Alexandria, right? You're in the
I live in
DMV.
Alexandria, but it was just like, I think it's a national organization.
It's
I
a
had never
national
heard of it.
organization.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, we have a guild here, but it's local. But I don't know if it's connected to a national group. So that's
Yeah.
why I asked.
It could
Hmm.
be a chapter of the
It
national
could be.
group because,
Yeah.
yeah, the Office Guild's been around for quite a while. And
Yeah.
they do
Hmm.
a lot of great advocacy work for authors.
Hmm.
Yeah, they do. So, um, you're still teaching?
I work in education, but I don't teach anymore.
Oh, okay. You're not teaching.
Mhm.
Okay.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. Um, when you were in the classroom, what did you see in students that you want reflected in the books that you write, like behaviors or potential or
Yeah, I just saw so many, specifically my Black girls, who were like thoughtful and curious and like had something to say. And I think sometimes like those kinds of behaviors are celebrated in other types of folks, but they were not celebrated in my Black girls. And so I just really wanted to make sure that every little Black girl knew that like their voice was powerful, right? We want to hear what you have to say. I think about all of the Black girls who challenged me and made me a better teacher. And I'm so grateful, honestly, for them.
So,
hmm. Yeah, it's good to have a teacher that's an advocate
Hmm.
so
and doesn't just be the job.
what is your goal
Hmm.
with this book?
Hmm. I think it's twofold, right? Like I want to make sure that little Black girls see themselves in literature. I specifically wanted her to be dark skinned with natural hair and big glasses, right? Like I want them to see themselves, and I want them to know that like you can be curious, you can speak your mind. But I also want to acknowledge, especially as a teacher, like sometimes it is hard to make it through a lesson if every 30 seconds somebody is like, raising their hand, something to share. Like I have my own things that I am required to do by my district too. And so I really wanted to make sure that we, celebrated like the voices of our children, specifically our Black girls, but also recognize that like let's find a creative outlet because like yes, share your story, but also find the right time and space to do so.
Yes, yes.
Okay, now Ruby Renee,
Mhm.
is that a name? Where did you get that name?
Well, it started with, Ruby Bridges. I have always loved Ruby Bridges. I
Okay.
just have so much like admiration and respect for her. And so I said, I definitely want to do Ruby. Like that, her name has to be Ruby. Um,
Okay.
but my name is Ashley Iman. My actual name was Ashley Iman, but I went by Ashley because I grew up in an area where I was like the only Black girl, and I just wanted to blend as much as I could. And so I've been really trying to like reclaim that. So I said she needs a second name, right? And I wanted it to kind of feel like mine, and so that's how we got Ruby Renee.
Okay. And then there's something to say, it rhymes, so you get that.
It worked out,
It
right?
worked out. Okay, so your actual first name is Iman?
Oh, that is a funny. So my mother put on my like the paper to apply for my birth certificate. It was Ashley Iman, and she also spelled it differently. There was an I at the end of Ashley. She put an extra N on there. And my dad went and changed it. He said, "Absolutely not. I want my baby to get a job." And as much as I understand where he was coming from, I still kind of feel bad that my mama didn't get to name me what she wanted to name me. And so while I didn't change the spelling back, I've been reclaiming it and making it like my name is Ashley Iman. That's what I go by.
Okay, it's funny.
Mhm.
Parents do that. The whole naming thing is a conversation. I know for me, I have one child, and so my husband and I had already agreed that her first name was going to be Sylvia after his great
Mhm.
great grandmother who raised him. So, and then Richardson, that's his name.
Mm-hmm.
So, he has two. And so I wanted her middle name to be named after my maternal grandmother,
Mm.
whose name was Rochelle. Well, he had a problem with that. So, and so I'm like, well, why do you get all of I'm like deflated. Why do you not? I only have one child. I want to, she has to have my stamp on there. So he already had an answer. So when he said,
Mm-hmm.
"Come on, Rochelle," he said we can name her middle name Day. Now my maiden name is Daye. So it's kind of different. And so, when I thought about it, I was like, well, okay, that we can do that. So that whole naming thing, it can be a conversation. I mean, it can be like a negotiation, even. And I guess if you have a lot of kids, you get a lot of different chances to name. But, he had three other children. So this was my one shot. So,
Mm-hmm. I get it. And my mother had already told everybody what my name was. So I
okay.
actually have a bunch of baby books and things that have this other name that is not my actual name anymore. So
That's funny. So you have another book that's coming out
hmm
next month that's like the sequel companion to this one. And so give us
hmm
the title of that one.
yeah, it's Ruby Renee always gets her way.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So Ruby
Are
Renee
all
is
the titles going to rhyme like that? Because I
yeah,
think
that's
it's
what I was saying.
Yeah.
So you need to find another word that ends with you got say and way,
Yep.
day. Ruby
hmm
Renee saves the day. That could be number three. I've given you your title.
I'll give you your credit when we write it.
So what happens to Ruby in book two?
Yeah, so at the end of book one, Ruby has found her outlet. She knows exactly how she's going to share her thinking. And so we pick up in book two. She's leading her radio show. Essentially, she's leading her morning announcements. She's loving it. But when you create a platform like that, other people also want to participate, and so she gets a co-host. It doesn't quite go the way she wants it to go. And so now Ruby has to learn, how do you continue to speak up, continue to share your voice, but also make space for others to share their thoughts too.
Oh, okay, that's neat.
Yeah.
So she's kind
Mhm.
of like almost a budding entrepreneur in that.
Oh, she is. She is a public radio host in the making.
love
Okay,
it.
I like that. I I had thought about doing something along those lines in my book series, Kids Biz, but so far I haven't gotten to that. Like I thought about something with social media or something
Mm.
like that. Even though it's for small kids, so you have to be careful about how you present
Mhm.
it. But I had thought about doing something like that, like having a child, or but mine has a group of kids, so it's three kids.
Hmm.
So they how they could work together to do something like that. So something about kids books, you can be kind of creative, think outside the box, um, come up with some different now did you see other books on the like this topic? Have you seen any other
Hmm.
books with characters like yours?
Yeah, I would say not the particular topic about speaking up, but like I was really inspired by the Ada Twist scientist books. I love those books. I also like the kind of like, the way they titled it, and I think just there's so many great inspirations of like really courageous, brave, excitable black female characters who were just like doing it their own way, making their way in the world. I love that.
Yeah. Now, I go out to book events and
Mhm.
I hear a lot from parents who say, who have boys, and they say there's not enough written for Black boys.
Mhm.
So, do you get that as a teacher? Did you get any feedback like that, or did you hear that from parents?
Yeah, actually, an interviewer asked me that question too, and I think there needs to be more books written for Black boys, and I also think that like we need more Black men writing those books, right? I think that I it's really important for me to be mindful of my lane, and I try not to write about things that I don't know, right? And so I don't know what Black boyhood is like. I don't know, the difficulties in Black masculinity. I would love to support somebody who is writing a book like that, but I wouldn't want to do it and get it wrong, right? I don't want to speak for a community that's not mine.
It makes sense. It makes a lot of
Mhm.
sense. And I wish a lot more people would not try to write about a community that they haven't experienced or at least studied closely and not just
Mhm.
saw something on TV and said, I think I can write about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So, no,
it
go ahead,
has
go ahead,
to
Quinn.
fit. Well, it has to resonate. That's the word I want to use.
Mhm.
It has to resonate with the children. Um, my books have three characters in all of them, and it's two boys
Mhm.
and a girl, but they're young,
Mhm.
like your character. So
Mhm.
when they're young, you can have a little bit more flexibility in terms of if you've been around boys, you can a lot of things with young boys. They're very active. They're very they have a lot of energy, and
Mhm.
when it's two together, a lot of times they'll wrestle and tussle but it's not they're not fighting. It's just
Mhm.
right. I had two brothers, so they were always wrestling and rolling around, and my mom
Mhm.
was like, "Okay, as long as they don't get hurt." But that's what they're different. They have different
Yeah.
Mhm.
motivators and different energy and all kinds of differences. So Ruby Renee has her way within book
Mhm.
two, which comes out June 24th.
Yeah.
And
I'm
do
excited.
you have an art? Do you have a advanced reading copy or a galley?
Not yet. I think I get mine in a couple of weeks.
Okay,
I'm excited. I've obviously like, seen like the PDF copy, but there's nothing like holding the book in your hand. And so I'm
right,
I'm excited for it.
right. So how do you promote your book? Have you been to schools with it, youth groups? What do you do to
Yeah.
get the word out?
I love going and reading in schools. I specifically like to read in DC schools. I worked for KIPP DC, and they were very upset with me that I hadn't read in any KIPP schools. Like the book had been out a year, and I had not read in any of my own schools. Awkward like that. I was like, I don't want to promote it at my own job. That feels very weird.
Yeah, it feels
But
good to do.
yeah, but other schools in the city, I've definitely gone and done some book readings there. I've been really, really lucky to be invited to be on a couple of like, to do like some local news. I'm a huge NPR fan. I may or may not have cried when I went into NPR studios to do an interview there. So yeah, there's been some buzz, and I'm really, really grateful for that.
Yeah, that was how we found out about it. You came across our radar, the buzz. Those.
And you live right down the street from me. because yeah, I live in Accokeek, Maryland, which is right across the bridge, basically from.
Hmm. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
that's,
so great. Okay,
yeah, the
DMV.
DMV is expanding
Hmm.
almost as much as Houston. Where I live, we just want people to stop coming. Just stop. We have
I
enough.
think we
We're
can
full.
empathize with that.
We're full. uh, so show us one more time the cover of
Mhm.
Ashley. I
Mhm.
mean, not Ashley, mine. Renee, and what had something to say. Has so much to say. And
Yeah.
please tell me what's inside.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna show you my favorite page because it's
Okay.
one of the things that absolutely happened to me, and it never fails to get a laugh with the students when I show it to them.
Okay. Put it close
But
to.
here's a
Put
picture.
it close to you.
Okay,
Put it
now you
close
know
Yeah,
we can't
let me
see
see
that.
it
to
close to
you.
me.
There
Yeah.
we
There
go.
we
There you
go.
go. Okay.
Yeah, so it's really this side, this side right here.
Okay.
So she is talking too much, as sometimes we do, and she gets distracted, and unfortunately, she gets hit with a dodgeball, and she finds herself in the nurse's office. Because that also definitely happened to me as well. So yeah, I mean, yes, we want you to share, but also you need to pay attention to the world around you, friend, and that's what happens.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's it's good to be able to put yourself in a book without
Yeah,
saying it's you. It's that's one
yeah,
of the
yeah.
benefit of being a writer. You get to create the characters that are really you, and or the you that you maybe wanted to be, or something
mhm.
that you wanted to do but didn't. You get to create the characters for that. So
Absolutely.
that's that's one of the fun things about writing. So do you
Yeah.
so do you do any other kinds of writing?
No, not really. When I was younger, I used to write a lot of poetry, but not so much. I really picked it back up during the pandemic. Um, my whole focus was like teaching. I was focused on teaching, and I was a math teacher, so I wasn't doing any writing really in that field. And then we were all sitting at home, and I was thinking to myself, like, what is the thing that I loved the most when I was a kid? And it was writing, and so I just kind of picked that back up.
Yeah, there are thousands and thousands of books that were written during the pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, we've had a bunch of people, dozens,
Hmm.
maybe hundreds that have said they started a book or finished a book during the pandemic.
Right.
Uh,
Yep.
Many of them were inspired
yes,
and they went forward with it. They were inspired to write. They'd never written before. And then they wrote the story during the pandemic and decided to move forward with it. We've had people open entire publishing companies um,
Hmm.
during the pandemic,
yeah,
and which I think is great. I feel like if you were going to be at home, you're not going to, and you're not able to move out and be outside, then
Hmm.
be creative, be productive with that time. It doesn't mean that you have to constantly be working, but channel some of that creativity and some of that frustration that you might
Yeah.
because you can't be outside, and put it into something, and that's what you did. So I think it's great.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
yeah. And this show was created during the pandemic as a
Oh,
result of the
wow.
pandemic. July of
Mhm.
2020. We're approaching our fifth anniversary.
That's
So
incredible.
we have,
Congratulations.
thank you. We have to do something special. It's several dates coming up because we have a
Mhm.
birthday show because our
Right.
birthdays are like 8 days apart. So the show, whatever show is closest to both dates, that's
Yeah,
our
we
birthday
both
show.
do our little birthday
Um,
crown.
I love that. That's awesome. I love that.
so you just get a two book deal with the Penguin for these two books?
Mhm. It actually wasn't a two-book deal. It's been one at a time as
Oh,
we,
okay.
as we've
They
Okay.
must
seen
be
how it's
happy with the way things
sold.
are going.
I'm very happy. And I also, am really grateful that I signed with Penguin, right? They were not the first people who were interested. There were other folks. And my
Options?
agent, yeah, yes, but my agent was so good about helping me to find the right home because it was important to me that Ruby was a full character, that she was all herself and it wasn't going to turn into, I didn't want to flatten her and her entire identity be just about her race. And so I was grateful that we found a really good home that wanted to see the totality, I think, of Ruby.
Well, I mean, I know we only have a few minutes left, but
Mhm.
do you think that's the biggest lesson you learned in this process? Or is there something else that was a big
Oh, yeah, I think that really it was about me being really clear on like what was important to me and then being patient, right? Because when I had to turn down a book deal, I said, I've never been published before, and somebody wants to publish this book. Why would I say no? It felt so wrong. Um, but my agent was right that that I could have gone that way and I ultimately wouldn't have been proud of what of the outcome. And so just be patient, trust yourself and trust like the work that you have and the team that you surround yourself with, and ultimately you will end up in a really good place.
wonderful?
Yeah. Well, congratulations on your book on Ruby Renee's success and her having something to say and having her way. And maybe a book three will be saving the day. Or who knows?
Uh, I can't wait. Let me put that down. Let me write it down right now.
Okay. Well, have a great evening and thank you for
Yeah.
being a guest on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful.
Thank
Okay.
you. It was great talking with you, and congratulations once again.
Yeah, thank you. Enjoy your evenings.
You too. Bye bye.